In a recent discussion between experts and commentators on the subject of non-human intelligence, another term for extraterrestrial life, critical questions about government secrecy and implications of extraterrestrial phenomena were addressed. The insights revealed shed light on why disclosures of these matters to the American people and the global community is not just a moral imperative, but also a practical necessity. In the video clips I'd like to share today, dialogue touched on themes of national security, societal preparedness, and the profound philosophical implications of acknowledging we are not alone in the universe. To begin, until I watched this video earlier this morning, I have never heard of the think tank that goes by the name SALT. According to their website, they're a global investment platform that connect institutional asset owners with asset managers and technology entrepreneurs. So they link people with innovative ideas with companies who finance those projects. Noted. The video that popped up in my feed was from a conference they hosted on 21 May 2024. The first clip that stood out to me was Alex Kloka's question to Karl Nell about why there are so many credible people who have made open statements that UAPs and ETs are here and have been visiting our planet for as long as we can remember, and yet the US government continues to refuse to openly disclose this factual information. As a former military officer, Karl Nell provides 6 reasons why the government would be hesitant to share this information, and you can listen to his statement here.
Karl, I mean, what you're saying is extremely consequential, and you've referenced other people that have said the same thing that also have similar credibility. There's similar reasons for why we should believe many of these folks, yet the government itself has not formally disclosed. They've been very reluctant to do that. Why? Why do you think that is?
So there's 6 basic reasons, and this, again, you could draw this out from first principles. There's a national security reason. There's the lack of a plan. There's the potential for societal disruption. There's the possibility that there's some non-public agreement. There's the potential for misdeeds and the desire to cover up misdeeds. And there's just the basic organizational intransigence and lack of priority that might be associated with the topic. So all these things are factors. The issue is that really the national security issue subsumes all the others. And so there's an opportunity maybe to contract the national security issue similarly to what was done with nuclear weapons and nuclear energy, such that nuclear energy is not necessarily classified and is available to the public. But lack of a plan and the potential for societal disruption are key ingredients that would prevent any responsible leader from coming forward with information that they don't have the means to address in a responsible way. It would be irresponsible to do that.
Now, while all of these reasons are valid and logical, it doesn't make up for the fact that we, as US and global citizens, have been lied to continuously. And our government is still trying to make up its mind about whether or not it can essentially disclose this reality without A, acknowledging this decades-long cover-up, which would piss off the general population, and B, causing a scene, aka panic that they assume will entail because they're still under the impression that everyone is a blatant sheep, as Noam Chomsky put it. That being said, there are 3 reasons that trump those 6 factors, and Nell advocates for controlled disclosure.
Okay, so what you're saying is that you have absolute conviction that a higher form of non-human intelligence has visited this planet, that there are factions within our own government that know about this, yet we still don't have a plan, and they may represent a security issue. This may pose a threat to humans, yet you still believe that we should disclose. Is that right?
Correct, right. So there's really 3 reasons that trump all those others. And those others are basically valid, like I said. So the first issue is the moral right. The government exists for and by the people. And so the nature of reality is fundamentally not government information. People have a right to know the world in which we live, and the pursuit of happiness requires that knowledge. So that's sort of the first kind of overarching philosophical foundation for this. But, as a corollary to that, if there are misdeeds that were done, then they need to be remediated. If there's lack of proper oversight, which is suggested by some of the whistleblowers, that needs to be remediated. So the first issue is the moral issue. The second issue is being in a reactive mode is never preferable to being in a proactive mode. So reactive mode is basically trying to prevent disclosure. But failing that, you might get a situation where you have catastrophic disclosure that creates all the problems that you were trying to prevent. So a more balanced middle path of controlled disclosure is the best way to do this, which is again an argument for some amount of disclosure. And the third part is simply societal advance and global competitiveness. More brain trust needs to be brought into this topic in order to make progress and to improve society. And so all three of those things together trump the 6 other reasons for non-disclosure.
From my personal perspective, the ruse is up. It's clear we've been lied to. It's clear everybody knows what's going on, at least on a surface level. So for any human being, especially in a leadership capacity, to continue to lie, it just makes it worse. People don't trust the government and its leaders, as it is to a large extent, so why make it worse by pretending that we, as the general public, don't know? Do you see people freaking out? Do you see mass chaos? No. You see curiosity, questions being posed, and the population is seeking the truth.
And what do you think happens if we don't disclose? I know you mentioned this idea of catastrophic disclosure. Maybe disclosure may be forced upon us. How do you think about that?
So the situation is usually thought of as a binary state. It's like an all or nothing. And people have sort of argued this, but anybody paying attention realizes the government has already indicated that unidentified anomalous phenomena are real. They're not ours and they're not our adversaries. The Pentagon has said that. Like, for people that are paying attention, like, that shoe already dropped. So for a lot of people, they think that the second shoe to drop is this is non-human intelligence. And maybe the conversation stops there. Like, the president comes out and says, there's non-human intelligence. The truth is that will precipitate this crescendo of other questions that maybe the government's not ready to answer, that will court, if not precipitate, potential negative ramification for society. And so as an example of this, I would actually point to something from the ancient past, the Bronze Age collapse. So Eric Klein, Princeton University, 2015, wrote a very interesting book called 1177 BC, the year that civilization failed. And so this is well known to current scholarship. Within a single lifetime, all of the very effective ancient civilizations of the Bronze Age failed due to a confluence of reasons that are not necessarily fully understood today. So we're talking about Egypt, the Hittite Empire, the Minoan Empire, the Manasseh Empire, the Babylonian Empire. All these civilizations failed, never to return, other than, let's say, Egypt. And so these were highly sophisticated civilizations with highly developed infrastructures, highly developed administrative states. They were globalist in a sense, very similar to today in terms of the known world, the known Near East. They were economically interdependent. They had both diplomatic ties and commerce ties. And yet these civilizations failed in a single lifetime because of stressors that these civilizations collectively could not address within the time frame. And so if we look at our society today, one might argue that it's similarly fractured, similarly under economic stress, similarly under cultural stress as well, fractured and fragile diplomatic situation. It mirrors very much this scenario.
Yeah.
And so for a responsible decision maker, that is certainly a factor.
And so I guess when you say that, are you implying that perhaps we as a society may not be ready for disclosure? Or are you saying that we may not be able to defend ourselves against this other force?
So there's sort of different viewpoints on, whether people are ready to, deal with this phenomenon. And, popular culture is kind of infused with this stuff. Roswell became a meme a long time ago. We got programs on ancient aliens, Skinwalker Ranch, all this stuff. I guess I would draw an analogy, though, for people believe in a certain faith tradition, whatever that faith tradition is, and hold to that and subscribe to that in a very serious and devout way. And sort of pose the question, even for folks of that ilk, and I would count myself as one, if you're confronted with the reality of your religious belief system, like the reality of the metaphysical, an angel, a messenger from God, what have you, that's going to be a sea state change in your way of dealing with reality, right? Even though you already believe it, right? So it's one thing to believe and it's another to know. And I think in this context, this phenomena has the potential for an analogous effect, both on the individual and on society.
Yeah.
If you follow those who channel, for example, Daryl Anka, who channels an ET called Bashar, he has openly said that open contact is estimated to occur between 2026 and 2027, and that's only because people are open to it. That would entail, per his statement, ships making themselves visible to us off the coast of our shores, simply sitting there to make their presence known in a peaceful manner, and sitting there long enough for people to travel to see them. It will be an initial form of contact globally, which would remove disclosure from the hands of any one person in the world and would make their existence known to everyone. Should we take this claim at face value, leadership worldwide has a limited time to get on board and start being truthful. So if anyone wishes to remain in a position of power and authority, honesty would be a good policy. There was much more to what Bashar said than what I put above, but that's all I'm going to put into today's video. If you'd like to watch the full video and not just these clips, I've put the link below. But overall, I just want you to start asking these questions. What are the pros and cons of disclosure? What are the potential consequences of not disclosing this information to the general public? What instances, such as congressional hearings or other conversations, are taking place globally that you're not aware of? How can you react positively to disclosure? How do belief systems and cultural frameworks influence our readiness for such a revolution? And are you ready to get on board and evolve? Can you be open-minded enough to take in this information and respond in a positive manner? Can you have an adult conversation about a taboo subject and not lose your shit? All I ask is that you think about it a bit, okay? I'll wrap up this week's video here, but if topics like this interest you, feel free to subscribe to learn more. And please understand that I post these videos because I hope you expand your mind. If you've taken time out of your day to watch this video, thank you. This channel is intended to be a safe space for curious minds to discuss the taboo nature of parapsychology in an open-minded manner. So if you're interested in sharing your work, personal experiences with psychic abilities, or pertinent research in regard to parapsychology, please feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is in the description box below. And if you want to watch more videos about parapsychology, be sure to subscribe to be notified when new content is released. Have a great week, everyone.